So I finally get my driver's license. I feel like I'm going to be free. I can go to my friends, I can go to a sporting event, I can just get out of the house, away from my evil stepmom. But guys, that's not what happened at all. Because the second I got my license, my stepmom tried to turn me into her personal driver. And what I mean by that is going to be pretty shocking to you guys. I'm 16. Before you write this off as just a teenager looking for attention on the interweb, please read a little further. I could use some advice. Being 16, I've just crossed a very important milestone in my life. I got my driver's license. I've been looking forward to getting my license since I knew what driving was. I mean, I'm not some wannabe rally driver or F1 hopeful. I just really want some freedom to choose where I can go and when I can go. Neither of my parents were ever the pack your lunch, drop you off at school myself type. They were both busybodies, which I understood, and the bus was reliable enough for me to not have to stress too much about it. Then we moved and high school came around and everything was just so far away. And the district had the world's worst buses. So, Mom starts dropping me off on the way to work. It was nice, actually, to have that extra little time with Mom, especially since her schedule was so unpredictable and she works such long hours. Seeing her wasn't always a guarantee, so I liked it when she sent me to school. Of course, given the fact that her schedule was as hectic and unpredictable as it was, we had contingencies in place. On the days that Mom could not send me, I carpooled with another kid from the neighborhood. He was a couple grades above me, and we did not interact much outside of our shared morning commute, but our mothers were friends, so we remained friendly. He ended up teaching me how to drive a stick shift, which, while not super relevant to my life, was definitely interesting to learn. Okay, back to the driving though. We moved to this neighborhood shortly before my freshman year, and by the end of it, my parents were getting a divorce. My mom was transferred to a hospital in another state, with great opportunities for her specialization and career, and my father did not make it 2 months before cheating on her. Despite all the bad blood between them, they finalized the divorce relatively quickly, in part due to an ironclad prenup on my mother's side, and in part because my father wanted the marriage over as quick as possible so he could go ahead and get with his mistress. If I'm making my father out to be less than an amazing guy, it's not unintentional. I don't hate my father per se, but loving him isn't something that comes very easy. He's never been the nicest guy, but he's provided the basic accommodations that a father should, and I've always been fed, watered, and housed, and whether that was because of my mother's involvement or not, I could never hold it against my father. Everything was paid for, and I did not have much to complain about. I mean, sure, I would have loved to have some attention and, have somebody in attendance of the event I was involved in, but it wasn't the end of the world by any measure. Then Mom left, and he became an entirely different person. Maybe it wasn't so much that Mom left than it was that my stepmother arrived. Okay, we'll call her Lily. I promise this is relevant to the whole thing, though. The day that I met Lily was not a good one. It wasn't bad, she wasn't wicked or anything like that, but she wasn't exactly invested in getting to know me. The girl who ended up being her stepchild. At first I brushed it off. I'd read about worse situations, and my best friend Anna has an absolute monster for a stepmother, so I really could not complain about something being a little frostier than I expected at the first meeting. Maybe I could just warm up to her. I never did, and she certainly never warmed up to me. The lukewarm reception continued up until the wedding, which I unfortunately had to attend as I was living with my father full-time until I finished high school. Now, before you guys jump to conclusions, I didn't do anything. I didn't sabotage the wedding in any way, I did not throw a tantrum, and I did not cause a big scene because I'm a teenager, not a toddler. However, just because / did not do anything, that doesn't mean that no one else did. I mentioned that Lily was the other woman in my parents' relationship. This isn't a secret by any measure of the word, and if my family loves anything, it's gossip, and by the time I found out about the cheating, most of the extended family already knew. One thing to know about my extended family is that they love my mother. Her side obviously loves her, but even my father's side absolutely adores her. My paternal grandma and grandpa have doted on my mother as the daughter that they never had since she and my father got married way back in the day. Needless to say, they were less than happy about my father cheating on her. But they weren't going to disown their only son, so they did the next best thing, in their minds at least. Grandma gave a speech at my father's wedding about my mother, about how she's the best daughter-in-law that she could have ever asked for, and how she gave her the greatest gift an old woman could ask for, a grandchild. She did not mention Lily or even my father at all in her speech, and while it definitely could have been worse, it was bad. Lily was furious and humiliated that her new in-laws had publicly praised her husband's ex-wife, and with nowhere else to aim, that anger, since Grandma and Grandpa had bankrolled the whole occasion, she turned her anger straight to me. The precious grandchild mentioned in the offending speech and the daughter of the dreaded ex-wife. She obviously moved in with us after the wedding, and I'm mostly shocked that it took that long for her to do so. But I wasn't going to mention it and prematurely ruin my peace. The second she moved in, my father visibly changed. While he never was really attentive by any measure of the word, he had somehow transformed from absent father to full-time goon, and the time that it took her to unpack her stuff. Lily was right. Lily could do no wrong, and if Lily wanted something, I had to bend over backwards to make sure that she got it. As far as he was concerned, I was just a pawn to provide for his precious new wife. At this point, you're probably wondering why I haven't just moved out. At this age, the court takes my opinion into account when deciding on the custody arrangement, and if I really wanted to go live with my mother, I know that she would fight tooth and nail to make it happen. The thing is, my mother moved to another state. If I wanted to live with her, I'd have to pack up my entire life and start over in a brand new town, in a brand new school with absolutely no one that I know anywhere near me. As terrible as my father and stepmother are, I value my friends in life here enough to put up with them for now. It's not forever anyways, it's just for a little while longer. That's also why I've held off getting my driver's license above all else. If I can drive, I can just go anywhere I want, whenever I want, and I would barely have to be at home, and I would not have to worry about bus schedules, getting a ride, or even being out late. I could drive myself when I want, where I want, and so I just got my license and was hoping to do just that. My parents even came together to get me a car to celebrate the occasion. Mom handles all the insurance stuff, and Dad apparently paid a larger sum for the purchase. Whatever the math works out to, I had a license and I had a car, and freedom, and, well, it's never been closer. Then it became clear to me that being Lily's little errand girl was not confined to the four walls of my home. While before, the most she could ask me to do was prepare dinner, my newfound freedom on the road opened up the whole new door of possibilities. I could drive her to the grocery store. I could drop her off at Pilates. I could bring her to the ladies' night and pick her up after when she's too tipsy to drive herself. I went from the brink of freedom to personal chauffeur so quickly that it actually took me a second to realize it. It also became clear while driving her around that Lily shops a lot, like a lot, in any single given week. She makes at least 3 trips into town just to pick up whatever her little heart desires. Clothes, shoes, pointless knickknacks that don't even make sense in a house, and I tried to tell my father about it, but given the fact that any other complaint about Lily has turned into a screaming match and raising hands, well, I'm not looking to start another fight between us. The main thing that's annoying me is that I'm somehow still stuck covering gas. The deal was insurance and maintenance, it would be handled for me, so I would just have to cover the gas, which made sense at the time, but now that I've become Lily's little personal driver, it's getting a little steep. I have an allowance from my mom and a tutoring gig that keeps me pretty well funded, so I'm not destitute. But I do find it unreasonable that I'm spending all my free time driving her around and using my money to do it. I don't really know what to do about this situation, though. Telling my father would get me in trouble, and telling my mother would get me a one-way ticket to No Friendsville. I'm hoping that someone here will have some advice for me that I have not even thought about yet. Something that'll buy me back my freedom, without making me move halfway across the country. Sorry if this comes across as whiny, I just have not had a lot of people to talk about this with, and I guess I just wanted to let it out somewhere. Top comment. Comment number 1 says this. This is not going to be the advice that you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. You need to tell your parents. I understand that it's been built up to this lose-lose situation. Either fight with your father or go live with your mother. But I feel like there's a happy medium there that you might be overlooking because you're just too close to the situation right now to see it. Tell your mother, tell her what you don't want to happen, and tell her that you want to find a solution that keeps you in your current home, but gets you out of being your stepmother's driver. You're 16, kiddo. This isn't something that you should have to put up with just to stay in the same school. Please turn to the reliable adults that you have in your life, like your mother, who just wants the best for you. Update number 1. Well, guys, I asked for advice and I got it. I also got way more creepy direct messages than I was expecting to get, and would like to formally request that people stop doing that. I get that announcing the fact that I'm a teenage girl on the internet was far from the wisest move, but holy heck, I was not expecting to get people so depraved as they did as quickly as they did. I mean, I can only block and report so many people. As for the actual advice, my favorite comments were the ones that coddled me like I wanted them to, and told me that I had no fault in this situation whatsoever, and that everything would be okay soon. The comments that actually made the most sense were unfortunately some of the meaner ones, that told me to grow a spine, stop driving Lily around. Which, I get it, that's pretty valid, right? If I refuse to go to my father and telling my mother's not an option either, I really have no choice but to deal with this on my own. So I did, and you know what? It majorly backfired. I would like to start off by saying that Lily is a terrible person, and the worst stepmother that I could ever ask for. I was a bit lukewarm in my initial description of her, so allow me to amend that now. She's a horrible person whose company I would not wish upon my worst enemy. She's annoying, has a grating voice that she refuses to ever stop using even for a moment, and she somehow has my father wrapped around her finger, tighter than her little wedding band. She asked me, well, I should say told me rather, that I take her to the city center today for an afternoon of shopping with her friends. This typically just involves picking up 2 of her friends, driving them into town, waiting outside whatever boutique they go into because parking is non-existent in the city, loading their bags into the car, driving them to their next destination, and repeating. At this point, I know their favorite shops by heart and can even drive to her friend's house without using a GPS. I'm shaping up to be quite the personal chauffeur, just in time for me to try to resign. To her surprise, I declined to drive her. I informed her that I had plans with my friends and would not be available there to drive her around. A little gentler than outright saying, no, I know, but baby steps. She did not take it well. In fact, after asking me to repeat what I just said to her, she began berating me for being a useless child, just like my mother, and promised me that if I insisted on being a terrible child and refusing to drive her, she would have my father throw me out. In case any of you reading this think that her threats are empty, they're not. If Lily is nothing else, she's a major narc. She's willing to go to my father for absolutely anything, and you know what? He always sides with her. She once complained that the carpets in the back seat were dirty, which is rich considering she's the only one who sits back there, and that I was disrespecting her by making her sit in my filth. My father made me pay for a detail of her choice the very next day. So, we're back to the drawing board. I'm still a chauffeur, and standing up for myself failed. As I write this, I have to learn to drive a bit for her, just to go get drinks with her friend. Update number 2. Update, I think Lily's cheating on my dad. I know, I'll back up. If you've been keeping up with my post about stepmother Lily, and my new unwilling position as her personal chauffeur, you know that I've become somewhat familiar with her day-to-day routine. I know her favorite spots. I know where her friends live, and know most of her friends at this point. It's never been a very social thing. I'm not conversing with these people so much as I'm blending into the background like a fly on the wall. So much so that I think Lily might have gotten a little too comfortable with me driving her around. Lily and I don't really talk outside of her telling me where to go, and me asking her to put on her seatbelt because if she doesn't, the car's going to beep increasingly aggressive until she does. Sometimes one of her friends will ask me a question if Lily's decided to extend my services to them too, but it's rare that we exchange any more than the basic dialogue between passenger and cab driver. Given all this, I think the fact that I, her stepchild and daughter of her husband, am the one driving her around has kind of faded to the back of her mind. I'm not her stepdaughter, I'm her driver, so it doesn't matter what I see or say. And boy, have I seen some stuff. Recently, I began noticing that Lily was going out more frequently. In addition to this being a strain on my wallet, it was also quite interesting because she wasn't hanging out with her usual group of friends. Instead, she was seeing one particular friend more and more often. A guy. At first, I noticed that he would be lingering around when I picked up from drinkings or shopping, and he was with a friend group often enough that I thought he was just another one of her friends, but then they began hanging out more often, and I would see her embrace him before getting in the car. Then they began hanging out alone. I would drop Lily off at the cafe and pick her up from an apartment complex. I'll admit, guys, I got curious. So I did the one thing every commenter here would tell me to do. I asked her, "Who is he?" "Oh, an old friend." Apparently. Someone from her childhood whom she'd recently reconnected with. After I asked her, Lily seemed to remember that I had eyes and suddenly did not see him anywhere. He was gone. It was clear that they were being more careful about it since I could see him still inside the restaurant when I picked her up from it, but she was clearly conscious of me seeing him. It's her sneakiness after I asked about him that made me think that something was going on. Now, the dilemma's this, that I don't really know what to do with this information. I could tell my dad, yeah, sure, but there's no guarantee that he would even believe me. In fact, I'm willing to bet that he won't. I'd probably get a very loud, lengthy lecture about respecting Lily's privacy, and he would take away my phone. Again. My mother would not care, though she'd probably want to know why I'm driving Lily around, which would eventually lead me to live with her. I can't exactly say anything to Lily, because she would just try to get me kicked out again. As always, guys, I need a bit of advice. Update number 3, this is the big one. I don't know what to do or where to go, and I'm currently camped out in my car in an empty parking lot because I need advice. In my last update, I told you guys that I suspected that Lily was cheating on Dad. I wasn't overcome with righteous fury to defend my father's honor or anything. He's not a good father, and he cheated on my mom with Lily, so you know what? Karma's karma. I did, however, view it as a potential method to rid myself of my personal driver status. No more Lily meant not having to drive Lily around. Cheating on my father meant no more Lily, and you know what? I need some proof. There was no way that my father would take my word over hers, so I knew I needed something indisputable to convince him. So I went full spy mode. I knew Lily's routine. I knew I had unique, unfettered access to her life that no one else did. If anybody could prove that she was cheating, it was me. Since I had to follow her everywhere anyways, it would not raise much suspicion. My first day as a spy gave me no usable intel. She had dinner with her friends, and even though he was there, they didn't do anything incriminating. Day 2, though, was much of the same. But I think I may have tipped her off to me sticking around because one of her friends came out for a smoke break and saw me before I could drive away. I tried to brush it off as having arrived early to pick her up, but I doubt I convinced her. What I really want to talk about is today. Oh boy, today. I dropped Lily off at her friend's place. From what I gathered, this is her best friend, but she's of no consequence to the story. This time, Lily actually asked me to leave. She told me that she'd call me when she's ready to head home, and I stuck around, obviously, but I was more inconspicuous about it this time ago. I parked in the alley beside her house, right next to her friend, where I could still see the entrance well enough. 10 minutes ticked by, and another car pulled up, and out came Lily's old friend. Yeah. Shortly after he entered the home, Lily's best friend left, leaving Lily and her old friend, who I'll refer to as Chad, alone inside the house. This was the moment I've been waiting for. I jumped out of the car in the alley, left it there, and crept up behind the house. Fortunately, Lily's best friend has one of those houses that practically are more window than wall, so I had pretty good views of the inside, and through the back kitchen window, hidden by some convenient foliage, I had a perfect vantage point of the living room couch where Lily and Chad were watching a movie. Netflix special. Within moments of me settling into my perch, they start making out. Kissing. Obviously, I recorded it. I mean, yeah, we live in the 21st century. I have a phone. Once I had enough evidence and they finally stopped trying to devour each other, I went back to my car and called my dad. I had proof now, and I wanted her caught in the act. If you remember my original post, my father isn't the most attentive person. If I wanted him to actually show up, I had to make it urgent. So I called and told him that Lily and I have been in an accident, and we needed him to come pick us up. I told him where I was, and I told him to come quickly. My oversight was forgetting that Lily had a phone too, and my father would never take my word over hers. He called her immediately after hanging up on me, and she obviously told him that she was fine and that I was lying. The call must have spooked her, because she jumped up and left chat immediately, though she thankfully didn't see me. I've since gotten 6 calls and an insane amount of text messages from her telling me that she's going to sort me out once and for all. She's probably already at home, and she's probably already got my father on her side. Well, I'll update ya. Update number 4. Oh boy! I ended my last update kind of abruptly, but I was running out of data, and my phone was nearly dead. I didn't really have a choice at that point, so against every instinct in my screaming body, to do anything else, I went home. As expected, both Lily and my father were waiting for me. The moment I walked in, she sprang up from the couch and marched over to me. Before I could even get a word out, she slapped me across the face harder than I've ever been hit. Now, neither of my parents was ever super present, but neither of them, and I mean neither of them, not even once ever hit me. My father, he's gotten close a number of times, but he never actually crossed the line. Needless to say, I was caught off guard. Anything I was planning on doing, any fear or nerves I had about the situation went flying out the window the moment her hand made contact with my cheek. I actually started to laugh. I was laughing like a madman. I just got struck in the face, and I'm laughing like a madman. I stood there, hand holding my throbbing cheek, and laughed at my stepmother until even she looked a little worried. Without a word, I reached out for my phone and forwarded the video of her making out with Chad, not only to my father, but the family group chat, of course. The one with my grandmother, the one with my grandfather, who already can't stand her. Lily checked her phone and immediately lost her mind. She came at me with intent to seriously harm me, and I'm pretty sure if I had not been as quick as I was, I'd be in a lot more pain right now than I am. She kicked me, she punched me, and pulled me until the moment I told my father to watch the video I just sent him on his phone, and she saw the look that overcame his features. Within moments, she went from a screaming banshee to a blubbering, pleading mess, telling him that it wasn't what it looked like, honey, and I had doctored the whole thing, edited it. Considering she still had the same outfit on, it was less than convincing. I've never seen my father as angry as he was that day. Even I was genuinely afraid when he threw his phone to the ground, shattering its screen completely. But he'd already seen what he needed to see, and I'm pretty sure he was going to hit her. Even as she pleaded for his forgiveness, she decided to take a page out of my book and dodge it, then straight up run out of the house like a marathon sprinter. I don't know where she went, considering she only had her phone on her and nothing else, but she hasn't been back since. My father, he asked for more information, which I gave to him, and was surprisingly civil to me given how angry he had just gotten. Before anything else could happen, we were both spammed with calls from extended family, right there in the group chat, wondering what the hell's going on. My grandmother picked me up shortly after, saying that my father needs some time to sort things out, and I've been with her since then. For those of you wondering, I've spoken to my mother, and yes, she was upset that I did not tell her any of this to begin with. She says that we'll speak more about this soon, and she was going in for a shift when my grandmother called her. I'm pretty sure that this will be my final update, since I don't think anything else is going to happen that can even top this. I guess I want to thank everybody who's commented and given me advice these past few weeks. I know I could have handled this situation better, but I'm still grateful that you were all here for me. Well, wherever you are, the plus side is I'm pretty sure I don't have to drive Lily around anymore. Update 5. Final update, wrapping it up. I know I said the last one was it, but, well, this is the final one. I'm a completionist, so I've got to provide a proper conclusion, so here's the actual final update. I ended up moving in with my grandparents. They do live slightly out of the way, but given the fact that I no longer pay for my own gas, I really don't mind. Mom ended up having it written in the custody agreement that Dad has to handle the gas as well until I graduate, to make up for everything I paid for with Lily. It's been great for me and my wallet. Mom's still living in a faraway state, but she's going to be visiting more often. She's decided that all of this happened because she wasn't around enough, and this, well, has got her sworn to change. She's even attended a parent-teacher meeting last week for the first time ever. Dad is still Dad. He's not going to apologize for how he acted while he was married to Lily, but he has been transferring me a little more than he has to each month for gas money. I'm pretty sure that's as close as an apology's ever going to get with him. As for Lily, well, Lily was never seen again. That was up until the divorce hearing a little bit ago. She showed up obviously worse for the wear, having lost a good amount of weight, and even her hair looked worse. She looked stressed out and tired, and we found out why when she revealed that not only had her darling boyfriend Chad also cheated on her, but her parents disowned her for her stepping out of her marriage. Apparently they're super religious and super against adultery. Given the fact that we had an actual video evidence of her cheating floating around, and father had a prenup this time, she got nothing in the divorce. I mean, to put it simply, her life sucks, and I'm quite happy about it. Anyways, that's really all I have to say about this. Thank you for reading, and thank you for all your advice. So, I was reading the comment section of today's story, and there was a lot of people who was trying to tell OP throughout the updates, hey, I think you should just go to your mom, tell her what's going on with your stepmom. She's not going to really make you move away from your hometown and all your friends, but you need to go ahead and open up and let her know what you're going through. And I want to know from you guys, if you were in OP's perspective, what would you have done with this situation? OP felt so trapped. But when she found out that her evil stepmom was a cheater, she had all the information she needed to ruin her. Let me know your thoughts about today's story, guys. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate and animate stories like this every single day. So if you guys want to be a part of these daily animated stories, the best way to do it is super simple. Hit that subscribe button, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, and remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.